Okay. All right. Next, we got a producer panel. We had some growers here from the National Wheat Yield Contest, and we thought we would open up the floor to have some questions. These guys also participate in the yen. So I'd like to have Rich D'Arcy and Mike Milligan, if you want to come up here. Randy Eschenberg wanted to be here. He had surgery on Thursday last week, and he said, I will try. And I thought he might show up here at noon and have lunch with us, but must be he decided that he wasn't quite feeling good enough to do that. So we got, if you guys want to come up here, do you want a chair or do you want to stand? All right, so this is your chance to grill these guys on what they're doing on their farms. They're getting some pretty good yields. And then I'll help try to fill in some blanks as well. But so first I want to have you guys maybe introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what you're doing for wheat production on your farm. And I don't care who goes first. All right, so go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I'm Mike Milligan. We're from Cass City. We grow white wheat. And I don't know, what do you...
How do you plant? What are some of the things you've tried?
Yeah, so we plant. We've got a real similar drill to the one outside here. We plant with a Pottinger Terracim, 5-inch row spacing, tillage included on that machine. Really like that. Just working on plots with that stuff. So we don't get real crazy with the growth regulators. I've tried with some. I've yet to make it really pay on our farm, but we just 2 shots of nitrogen in the spring. Our Terracim has fertilizer, so it bands fertilizer between every other row. So it runs a band of phosphorus down the middles. Yeah, I guess that's fungicide of flag leaf. Sometimes if we see disease coming in early, we'll spray a fungicide early on, and then we spray for head scab, but we're white wheat. So.
And Mike went to Germany with us when we went to Jeff, and Mike and I went to Germany and got to tour the Amazon plant and the horse plant and whatnot. We learned quite a bit on wheat from the guys in Germany. So, Rich?
Okay, Rich D'Arcy. As I said earlier, the yen contest will force you to get in your fields, and you will learn a lot. We were, I think, 12th out of 98. I don't know why you didn't have some better growers up here. But we no-till all our wheat goes in
better growers than yours? Is that what you're saying?
I was 12th.
Oh, you were 12th. Your yield was 135 or 8 or?
Yeah, but I was 12th.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
where's number 2 and 3?
You're being modest, Rich.
Where's 2 and 3? But no, we go in after navy beans on the bulk of them, navies or blacks. We no-till all our wheat in. A little bit of phosphorus and potash in the fall. Don't go too crazy. Normally, just 1 fungicide application at heading time. Basically 4 passes in the field in the spring, a nitrogen with iosol, herbicides. We have windgrass, so we pretty much have to go with a herbicide application. We would like to look more at some fall herbicide applications. I think that might help us in the long run. And just, we didn't do anything special on it. We do watch our seeding rates close. We vary our seeding rates. The 135 was planted September 18th or 20th, and it was only at 1.2 million. So as long as you get the wheat in early, you don't need a lot of seed. It'll take care of itself. And then be timely with harvest. Yield deteriorates from the day it's mature. You got to get out there and get it.
Mike, what did you plant at, your seeding rate?
800,000 was what mine was planted at. Then that's, oh boy. No, now you're testing me, Dennis. I don't know. 17th of September, something like that. Pretty early on, behind dry beans. So somewhere right in the ballpark.
I'm using PowerFlex at 2 ounces, and then we're putting a little bit of Affinity broad spec in with it to clean up the broadleaves while we're going. So,
the question was, sorry. These things compete with each other. Other questions for you guys? Over here.
Yes, we are not this year. We have in the past. So we're trying to clean up some weed problems. So we did not, but in the past we've done either Affinity or Husky in the fall, and then we'll frost seed clover in the spring.
We have not been seeding clover for about 5 years to try to get the windgrass under control. PowerFlex will pretty much wipe the clover out. We seed a cover crop right after harvest. As soon as we get a liquid manure application put on, we seed a cover crop after the wheat.
Other questions? Here and then back there. Repeat the question, would you?
So that was phosphorus in with urea, you're saying? Or all the phosphorus is fall, so we have ours broadcast spread, and then I band it. I band basically it's all mez, and then a micro product on with the drill. Before with the older drill with the air seeder, we were running liquid 1034.0 and then like a 624.6 variant in furrow, but now we've gone to banding it between the rows.
We put all our phosphorus on in the fall, usually 100 pounds of MAP along with some potash depending on the soil type, but no phosphorus in the spring. I'm broadcasting mine, and we're no-tilling, so we don't have anything on the air seeder. It's just simple, straight.
Yeah, and mine's banded between the down the middles, so with the drill. Variation of that seeder. So this, but yeah, very similar.
So how are you getting it banded? Is there another gang for fertilizer application, or how does that work?
Yeah, so there is a gang set at 10 inches that covers every other row, and goes down the middle. So I'm 5-inch spacing, so it's really kind of like 2 by 2.5, not really 2 inches deep, but 1.5 inches deep or so, and then it's in between 2 of the 5-inch rows. Well, Mr. Latham was in the back here somewhere, so I don't know. It was not too bad. I can't remember the exact dates, but I think we were less than a year. But that's been a couple years now, so who knows?
Question.
So have you done trials on your banding with your fertilizer versus not? And if you have, what was the difference?
I have not. I had some planter breakdowns, to be honest, and all of those trials kind of got thrown out the window when it got late. So I'm sure nothing like that happens on anybody's farm here. So
We have done some trials with phosphorus in the furrow versus broadcast incorporated, and from a purely yield perspective, there's not a statistical difference between broadcasting it and incorporating it. We didn't broadcast and do no-till. We did do incorporation in those trials versus putting it in the furrow with the seed. And we did dry MAP fertilizer, and we did liquid, the 1034.0 as well. And the one that is the economically highest return is the MAP, the dry, in the furrow with the seed. That's the one where you get the greatest return. But from a yield perspective, it was not statistically different. And it didn't matter if it was dry or liquid product, broadcast or in the furrow, the yield was pretty much the same. As long as you put the phosphorus out there, you got the response over the control.
How many pounds were you putting in furrow?
We were putting 50 in that trial. On the 1034.0, we added a trial or a treatment that was half rate because we were putting on 12.6 gallons of 1034.0, which we were worried about burn, which we didn't really see. But we also put on 6.3 gallons, which is 25 pounds of actual pea in the furrow as well, and that produced the same yield as the full rate. So 25 pounds of pea dribbled on the seed did the same as the 50, the higher rate. Phil.
So what are the one or two management changes that you've made that have made the most difference in yield in the last 3 to 4 years?
What are the one or two management things that you've done? Okay, over the last couple of years, that's made the biggest difference.
I think the Pottinger drill. I don't have any side-by-side trials, but just the uniformity and the consistency of the stand is night and day compared to the air seeder that we had before. Had some great-looking stands of wheat that were planted, so not fall of 22, but fall of 21. I had 2-month planting window with the first year with it, and it was incredibly wet. Planted some on November 9th and came up with a beautiful stand and did not give up nearly what I expected in yield. So that's probably been the biggest single management change that we've done in the last 3 years.
We didn't trade any equipment, so we don't have that to go by. But a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff we can do to try to get it right. And I think for me, no tilling in the dry bean ground, you have very good residue management coming out of the combine. So your wheat can be very consistent, probably not as good as a machine like that, but getting good uniform stands in the fall, even depth, just gets you off to a good start. And the more even the wheat can be when you're planting it, that's the only chance you get to plant it. The more consistent you can get it, then leads to better wheat.
To be honest, I don't know if they're upright varieties or not. I'll have to ask. I have to refer to Dennis on that.
I can tell you that I know I have some upright variety. I didn't know that until I saw the presentation, but I do have some more from the ground. So I have a number 5 that I did not know when I was planting, but I do know today.
So the upright and the kind of the droopy that we've been talking about, this is new. We're just finding this out. So yeah, we do have ratings on the variety trials. So we do have ratings for those that are in there. But we don't have, and this is all brand new. Nothing's published yet on this. So we've got a little ways to go, but we think we've found something here. We just got to figure out, is there benefit, and can we use management to take advantage of that canopy architecture, whichever one we have. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so the question was with the 5-inch spacing, and I was looking at this before I knew these guys were looking at it. I've got a seven-way variety trial with this drill, and 3 populations included in that too. So that's just some of the stuff I'm doing on the farm. I did get made fun of by one of the Amish neighbors that he's never seen somebody take so long to plant a 40 before. So that was a lot of work, but.
Any other question over here, Clay? Okay, did you take any straw off?
Very limited on our farm. Just help a few neighbors out. I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 acres.
We probably have straw taken off about 40% of the acres. Kind of one of those things. You got to work with the neighbors to some extent, but if we can get liquid manure covered before they get the straw off, that solves a lot of problems. Yeah, it's a kind of a complicated process, but that's the only reason they get as much as they do.
What kind of yield difference do you see between chopping your straw and baling? Like between leaving the straw in the field and baling it off, do you see a yield difference?
I can't really say that we do. We follow the wheat with a cover crop, and we're in a 5-year rotation, and there's cattle grazed on the cover crop. We no-till corn into the cover crop the next year, and so after the cattle have been across in the fall, we've not been able to pick anything out. We're not disappointed where the cattle grazed the cover crop, but to say the line is where the straw came off, I can't say that.
I can't say that I've never noticed any difference, but like I say, we don't have a big enough trial or long term enough to really have a good answer for that.
And we don't cut the wheat any shorter than we have to, so we don't try to put a lot of straw in the windrow. We actually spread our straw, and if they want it, they got to bring in a merger and gather it up.
Like,
What's
I thought you'd have the answer to that, have that all figured out for us.
He does. He just won't tell us.
Oh, yeah, Dwight's question was about the boron program. I don't really have one. So I've tried some experiments with it. I didn't get a response out of it, so I went away from it, and that's something I'm planning on revisiting. But in the last 2-3 years, I haven't messed with boron much.
We've not done much with it. We're seeding some alfalfa for the dairies now, so we're having to start to look at that a little bit closer. But you'll be up here next year, and then you can explain it.
Yeah, related to boron specifically. Yeah. We've looked at correlations, and there's weak correlation, I would say, at best, with boron. There's a lot of talk about boron, and when you look at the tissue sample analysis, it always looks like it's low. I think probably 80% of the tissue samples in the end project on that FEEC 6, the early, tested low for boron. But it's really hard to get to find where there's benefit. There's got to be situations or scenarios where there's benefit to making a boron application. But we have yet to really figure out exactly what the answer is. I mean, we don't want to have a boron deficiency for sure. So putting a little bit out there, is one way to help make sure that doesn't happen. But to tell you, I can give you the answer on whether you should put boron on that field and that field and that field. I don't know that I can do that at this point. The boron does play a role in differentiation in the plant. So when the spikelet is being developed, boron plays a role in there. And that occurs very early in the season. So that's before we even pull tissue samples. So maybe the reason that we're not seeing much response is just because any time we're testing for boron or making applications, it's already after the spikelet has already been, the number of spikelets has already been determined. So, but I don't know on that. Other questions, comments, anything else you guys want to add on what you're doing on your farm or anything spring management wise, harvest, anything like that you want to talk about?
Just be timely. Was it Dr. Olson was talking earlier about the fungicide applications? You're not going to drive by the field at 55 mile an hour and know when the anthers are starting to come out. You gotta walk that wheat. When it comes to fungicides, it's time consuming. But if we've got a terrible difference in soil types, sometimes we'll have to go into a field and spray a portion of it and come back 3 and 4 days later. If the low ground got hurt maybe by water, it's just 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 days behind, and it's not ready for the fungicide the first time through. Thank goodness for the automatics on the sprayer that it picks up where you left off. So.
Yep. George?
Do you ever take any weed off early and blow air on it in the bed, or do you always wait till it's completely dry out?
Yeah, with the tower dryer. But we grow white wheat, so as soon as we hit 22-23%, we dry everything on farm. So pretty much we hit that 22-23% moisture in the where combines are rolling, we're getting it out because quality only deteriorates out there. So we're not willing to risk that, especially if there's a rain coming. We'll start wetter than that.
I'm along with him as far as we don't hesitate to go early, but as far as drying with just air, no. There's a natural gas valve, and we turn that on about the middle of July, and let natural gas take care of the problem. So.
Do you have any problems or whatever commenting is that wet?
Problem is combining that wet. Problems combining at that higher. Not really. I mean, it'll make it grunt. You're not going to run 4 or 5 mile an hour with that much green straw coming in. But that's red combine, so no problems. No problems. I just I like to plant a different cover crop other than wheat, Dennis. So that's. Well, if you got a green combine, then it just comes out the back. You see, yeah.
We got a green combine and we have to buy cover crop seed, so I don't know what went wrong.
Any other questions or comments for these guys?
What do you do for when you go after driving? What's your driving herbicide program? And do you think you got any carryover issues with some yield dragging in the weeds in it?
We still use a lot of Eptam and Treflan in the dry beans, and then we follow up with like Raptor and Reflex and some Basagran. Those are pretty early post, probably the 25th of June on the average. I don't think we're having any carryover of the herbicides into the wheat. I don't really feel that we're getting anything. If you mess up and you got a whole bunch of electric poles and you get a little too much reflex, you might grow some red wheat in the fall, but usually by spring it's turned green. So.
We're pretty similar, very similar chemical strategies. We have seen some reflex where we ran full rate. We've had some issues where we've like compacted it behind the combine duals, and you can see it in the wheat. I don't know how you get a yield trial on that, but it definitely has shown up. But that's not very often. Pretty tough circumstances to make it happen. But.
You have Dennis bring up a combine with 5 foot wide header, and
Right,
he could
right.
combine those.
Yeah. I'm sure he needs more to do at wheat harvest time, I think. Yeah.
Other comments or questions? All right. If not, thank you guys.